Hello. Can anyone hear me? Hopefully everything is looking good right now. I have no idea. Oh, I think we're good. I think we're good. What's up, everybody? Oh, shoot. That's not the right one. Still trying to get used here to OBS. What's going on, everybody? It's a pleasure to have you back here for the show. My name's Omar Bam, aka Crypto, here to catch you up on what's going on in crypto and all of the recent crazy developments that have been going on, because it has been, frankly, a wild week, a week of upending news for the entire sector, a week where I think it's kind of a surprise to me. We've seen such crazy news, and yet the market has remained ever resilient when you're talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even some of these altcoins that have been rallying a lot. You would expected some downside considering some of the crazy attacks that have been happening in crypto, against crypto, for crypto, by crypto. It's just always madness. But still, I think this is a sign that maybe we're out of the really bearish period. I mean, I think it's due time, right? And a sign that the market is ready really for good news to pump this market up, because even the bad news isn't really impacting it. So those of you guys who have stuck around, you will probably be rewarded very soon if, just like has happened time and time again because of the cyclicality of the cryptocurrency markets, there's going to be a huge pop. And usually those who have the most patience are best rewarded. So if you're watching this, congratulations. You probably made it through the bear market. Just another bullet point here. Bad news not impacting the market to the downside. Good news pumping it up to the upside. Something that we really want to see here. Thank you so much, Jack Knife, for that. You lasted longer than CZ. I think I was probably public longer than CZ. I think CZ started his company, like 2007? I started the show in 2016, so I still beat him out. But I don't know, maybe he was doing something in this space before that. He probably was, considering he started the crypto exchange. I mean, you don't just wake up one day, you're like, you know what? I want to start a crypto exchange. I don't know anything about crypto. I'm just going to start one. Unless, of course, you're Sam Bankman-Fried, which is exactly what happened. Apparently, he knew nothing about cryptocurrency at all, except that he could trade it and probably make money building an exchange out when he started his exchange, but we can see how long that lasted. But yeah, thanks a lot. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I definitely wanted to come together because this is a day of togetherness and gratitude, and I wanted to share both with you guys for that. Lasted longer than CoinMarketCap too. No, they're still around. And Wallace has lasted longer than all of us. Hi, Wallace. His bags are strong, right, Wallace? Wallace has never lost a penny in cryptocurrency because he's never invested a penny. So you can't lose, you can't invest. Even the meme coins couldn't get Wallace. Kiwi, I don't know if you guys can hear Kiwi. He's out there screaming like a crazy person because the food is getting created right now. So we got to get through with this stream, guys. But I know y'all been asking about Wallace, so he had to make an appearance. He's doing good. He has a little bit of an upset stomach today, but otherwise he's doing pretty good. Right, Wallace? He's such a good guy. Anyway, so let's start off by, and I do kind of want to just briefly mention like the overall viewpoints of the news that we're going to be covering, because it is quite a bit to catch you guys up on. And if I had to read through every single court document and everything and cover every bullet point with that, it would honestly take forever. And I know you guys want to get back to being with your families. I know I got to get back to mine, but I did want to go ahead and catch us all up. So let's just get started here. I am doing my music thing. I was practicing Chopin Etude number 1 right now. That's the piece I'm working on. T. Dot. Thank you for asking. Yeah, every day I try to practice. That piece is kind of intense. Let's see. All right. So how do I get to the next page? Here we are. All right. So these are the cryptocurrency prices. Let's go ahead and refresh. Make sure that we're live here. I don't think that CoinGecko.com refreshes automatically. Anyway, Bitcoin down point. Oh, it does update automatically. That's new. 0.3% down over the last 24 hours. Ethereum is down 0.2%. Over the last week, you have Ethereum up 4.9% and Bitcoin up 3%. So it's catching up somewhat to Bitcoin. But as you can tell here, Bitcoin is the name of the day, because you can see the dominance for Bitcoin is climbing right back up again. Bitcoin dominance at 49.5%. I wasn't sure that we'd see the day again, but there it is. It controls over half, or just under half, of the total market cap for cryptocurrencies. Quite insane. You can see here the Ethereum fee prices when the Ethereum ETF was recently filed, that S1 filing by BlackRock. Fees for Ethereum spiked like crazy. The price immediately shot up like 2%, but trading was massive during that period. And yeah, fees were something you don't want to deal with. I think this was up in the 200 GUI region on average. Right now it's down to 21, so a good time to get some transactions out there if you're trying to do something in particular, in particulant. So Bitcoin, I saw Colin Talks Crypto on Twitter had shared this chart, so shout out to him. But it's just showing some of the recent, over the last month, strength on Bitcoin here on the dollar versus the US dollar on Coinbase. So it's painting quite a beautiful flag here. I would expect this to break up and out, so that would take us probably touching $40,000 for Bitcoin in due time. Again, because of some of the news that we're going to be covering, it's a surprise to see that it hasn't really dropped lower, but in fact it's held up quite nicely. So it seems like this could in fact ring true, this bullish triangle formation. So there was a huge crackdown. It's being talked about everywhere. So it has to do with Binance, a crackdown on Binance in particular, paying over $4.3 billion in fines. You can see here the United States of America against the whole freaking country is going Binance, starting at as early as August 2017 until at least October 2022. The defendant, which is the CEO, Changpeng Zhao, better known as CZ in the crypto community, the head of Binance and certain of its officers knowingly failed to register as a money services business, willfully violated the Bank Secrecy Act, did not maintain effective anti-money laundering programs, which led to the funding of all sorts of different terrible groups like North Korea and Hamas and many others. They allowed for illicit transactions to take place that had to do with darknet markets and mixing services. They processed these willy-nilly, and they even served U.S. customers for a time without establishing proper KYC, know your customers procedures, and so on. So anyway, this is pretty huge news. CZ is stepping down as the head of Binance, which is quite massive because he was up there like as like you have Brian Armstrong at Coinbase, almost synonymous. You have Jesse Powell at Kraken. You have like these figureheads that almost become like celebrities for a certain company. They get the trust of their customers over time. So now him coming down is it's a real change, I would say here. Since 2017, he's been such a figurehead, such a figure for the community, and now he's not going to be at the top of Binance. I do have to wonder what this will mean for Binance and how they will recover, of course, since Binance is having to pay $4.3 billion to the Department of Justice. They owe money as well to FinCEN. They owe money to the Treasury, the U.S. Treasury. It's just insane, all of this. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said that Tuesday's action was the largest settlement in the department's history. I want to make sure that folks really understand how unprecedented this monitorship is. We're not just going after the egregious conduct, we're also getting Binance out of the U.S. entirely. Yes, Binance will no longer be allowed to operate in the U.S. at all. So yeah, that's it for them basically here anyways. And they do have businesses, of course, offshores. See how they can continue to operate with these huge fines that are having to be paid. $50 million on behalf of CZ himself. That's not CZ. That's Richard Teng that you see here in the picture. That is the new CEO of Binance, who had this to say: it is an honor and with the deepest humility that I step into the role of Binance's new CEO. We operate the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume. The trust placed on us by our 150 million users and thousands of employees is a responsibility that I take seriously and hold dear. With CZ and our leadership team's support, I have accepted this role so we can continue to meet and exceed the expectations of stakeholders while achieving our core mission, the freedom of money. The foundation on which Binance stands today is stronger than ever. I don't know about that. They have mentioned that they want to set up the next 50 years to be stronger than the last period. So maybe this will set up a stronger regulatory foundation for them. But right now, the foundation has taken quite a hit, I would say. To ensure a bright future, I intend to use everything I've learned over the past 3 decades of financial services and regulatory experience to guide our remarkable, innovative, and committed team, my focus will be on reassuring users that they can remain confident in the financial strength, security, and safety of the company, collaborating with regulators to uphold high standards globally that foster innovation while providing important customer protections, working with partners to drive growth and adoption of Web3. We are here to stay. Please lend me your support. Excited for the days ahead. In another statement, I heard that he still has the ability to hold his own assets in private and to mess around with DeFi. Yeah, degen, one of us. No, I'm not a degen, not one of us. But he actually was the head of one of the major Abu Dhabi regulators before stepping in to basically lead international markets heading at Binance. Now he's stepped in as the CEO, so I'm sure he knows what he's doing, at least on the regulatory front. Right now, he seems to be quite obsessed with the Grand Prix taking place in Abu Dhabi. Looking at his other posts here on Twitter, yeah, this guy's a bro for sure. Check this out. Should make an NFT out of that one. Binance reveals fan-crafted helmet design for Pierre Gasly for Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Can't wait to see this helmet on the track at the weekend. Good times. Yeah, you can read the story there. Anyway, furthermore, let's continue on here. CZ he has pled guilty. He has pled guilty to one charge of violating the Bank Secrecy Act. Federal prosecutors said in a court filing on Wednesday. This will also come along with having to pay $50 million and possibly up to 1 year of jail time, it looks like. But it looks like he's posing a serious risk of flight. Namely, he's an Abu Dhabi citizen, and there's no sorts of extradition agreements between the U.S. and Abu Dhabi. So if he goes back home where he resides in Abu Dhabi, where his family is at, there's a risk that he might not come back. Basically, is what the U.S. is saying, even though he's already put up a $175 million bond for himself, personal recognizance bond, basically saying that he will go to his sentencing on February 23rd, and having put up $15 million in a trust account, it's possible that if he doesn't come back in February, it would be difficult for the United States to get that money anyway, even though he put that up, because it is offshore money. So they're trying to make it so he cannot leave at all. He said it would be problematic for him for several months to have to relocate his family. They need to be around him. I totally get that. And why would he, for example, not come back if he voluntarily came to the U.S. to surrender and plead guilty? Apparently, according to prosecutors, there's a difference between voluntarily coming to the U.S. to plead guilty and doing so to face potential prison time. Dang, they got our boy CZ. Omar, U.S. regulated exchanges can't list as many tokens as Binance did. What do you think will replace Binance? That's a good question, Jackknife. And that's one of the reasons that I and many other people really enjoyed Binance before all the regulators came in to try to cripple the entire space. There was this whole idea about just trading assets, whatever you wanted for any other asset, tokenizing everything, right? So we can invest in everything and find out real value and comparative value in this kind of sort of open market fashion where everything can suddenly be traded by anyone without these kinds of controls. And I thought that was super powerful. Unfortunately, with these centralized exchanges, it's not going to be the case here in the United States where we can trade wherever we want. Like you've brought up, basically, it's just not going to be the possibility. There are always going to be kind of shady exchanges that spring up, but do you really want to deposit Bitcoin or whatever token and hope that your deposit makes it, or that the exchange doesn't go down before you finish your trade and are allowed to withdraw those assets? It's a huge risk for me to even use an exchange that's been around for a long time that trades some of these altcoins, because you never really know what you're getting back oftentimes, especially with some of these shadier markets. It's a real gamble when you send money over to them. But if it's the only option in some cases, that's what you have to deal with. And that's the situation that's come about because of these regulators coming after this space. So what I think, of course, is decentralized finance using smart contracts will be the best way to do this. Ones that are truly decentralized, of course, interfaces with them could come under scrutiny, like like what you've seen with Uniswap, for example. So they can't on their front page list certain tokens, for example. You could still interact with the smart contract if you're privy enough to go into Etherscan or whatever other method and do your transactions that way, calling different functions. But if you're trying to go to just a website to easily trade, they're trying to make it so difficult to do right now, something like that. But there will always be an option, I think, that springs up. Safety is always going to be a concern, but due diligence, of course. DeFi, I think, will be the place to be going for that, of course. But that was a good question, man. I appreciate it. I want to know your thoughts, guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Coinbase will be the only U.S. exchange left, and they're trying to list everything that they feel is not a security, of course. A security. Like, that's such a bad word, right? It's such you're a security. Okay. All right. Trayvon James should have taken over Binance. Yeah. He's held out of jail, as far as I can tell, longer than CZ, still putting out videos too. What's up, Huang? Did you miss Wallace? You should rewind, man, because Huang was asking about Wallace. You should rewind this video and check out Wallace. It was right in the beginning if you missed him, man. Anyway, yeah, dang, right? This is following CZ talking about, like last week, how executives from a client of Binance were lured on a business trip to Montenegro where they were abducted and forced to empty their wallets. They lost $12.5 million, although apparently Binance managed to reach out to partners and get $11.8 million of the $12.5 million that was stolen from the executives frozen. Real event, stay safeu, he says. So yeah, it's very risky being public in crypto. I mean, that's the risk, honestly, that I take every single day by just making these videos. Nicely, in a good way, our channel has a lot less visibility than it used to, because having that visibility in crypto really does paint you as a target. Like, I was reading a story about some dude who won the lottery, billions, over $1 billion who won apparently, but he's suing his wife to try to keep his identity private. I mean, I get that. I totally understand why you would want to be private after being held up at gunpoint myself. I don't know if it's because somebody knew who I was or for some other reason, but it seems like that was the case, because after talking to many people where I used to live in Vegas, in that area that I used to live, they said that something like that had never happened before. In like an older resident who lived there, like in the decade that he'd lived there, he'd never heard of anything like that happening, except to me. So it does seem like it was targeted. That's just an example. And you hear stories about people getting kidnapped all the time, or people like the wrench attack thing is a real thing. I had a friend of mine who I've had on the show before talk about how he was held at gunpoint as well. He thought his girlfriend was coming in, and it was like 4 dudes with balloons. He was confused. They like opened the door. When he opened it, like pushed it open, knocked him down, tied him up, beat him up for hours, brandished weapons at him, and then they forced him to give up his smart cash wallet with a lot of money. Real true story. And that was something that he couldn't get back, but he lost a lot of wealth through that. And so I would advise definitely being anonymous as much as possible in crypto and out of the spotlight whenever you can. That's really the lesson with that story. But yeah, shame for CZ here. Apparently, there's going to be like a monitoring. The US is going to be installing some independent monitor that has to like make sure that Binance is going to be like doing things right. They still can't serve US customers, and this is going to be for 3 years. You're going to have this independent like review of them, making sure that they're following those regulations that they have to. And afterwards, apparently CZ can potentially become the head of the company again. That's what I read. I don't know if that's true. Oh yeah, I was trying to get through this. Actually, I didn't mean to share this with you guys yet because I didn't want to read the entire post. But Arthur Hayes is continuing to, and he was the head of Bittrex exchange. He continues to write these really long essays where on his blog, let me see if I can find it, Arthur Hayes blog, he goes into macroeconomics and as it relates to cryptocurrency and so many other things. Yeah, honestly, it's really great. I would check it out yourself. I think it's this one, Bad Girl. He goes into Janet Yellen, but these are very long. I've read them here on the show, you might remember, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing today. I'm still trying to read it myself, so I'll let you know if there's anything of interest there, but usually they're pretty fascinating reads themselves. Anyway, Bittrex Global is shutting down. So they had announced about 9 months ago that because of regulatory uncertainty in the regulatory environment, Bittrex, one of the longer standing crypto exchanges, is finally going to be shutting down. and winding down operations. So this is going to begin on December 4th, Monday, December 4th, 2023. Trading is going to halt on the platform, and they're urging people to withdraw as soon as possible. They've also gone into bankruptcy protection themselves. You're still able to withdraw any funds you have on Bittrex, but they're saying get them out as quickly as possible. They don't know exactly when withdrawals will be halted themselves, but it might be more difficult to get your withdrawal out if you wait. So be aware of that. They're talking about, just because, for example, you might think, oh, well, trading is still open. Maybe there's a coin on Bittrex that I still want to trade. Let me go ahead and deposit it before they stop trading on December 4th, get my trade done, and then withdraw. They're saying be careful with that. Actually, do not make any deposits to our platform. We cannot guarantee they will be received safely. If you do send a deposit, your funds may be permanently lost as a result of the attempted transfer. So yeah, don't try to do that. But yeah, basically your entire business with them is going to be concluded by the time all this is done and shut down. I guess that's good, right? Because they have a lot of KYC information at this point, a lot of user information. That looks like it's pretty much going to be wiped away. So props to you if you're getting out and you didn't lose anything with Bittrex. I know I never lost anything with Bittrex. I used to use them back in the day before they implemented all this KYC, which I was strictly against, right? You saw Bitfinex do it, you saw Bittrex do it, Poloniex do it. Everybody slowly did it, and I really held out to not support that kind of move for as long as possible. But unfortunately, it's the case that you do have to out yourself on all your personal information and who you are to all these companies if you just want to transact. A real shame, right? Just for, some of the reasons I outlined before. Anyway, US sues Kraken crypto exchange over failure to register. This is massive. So Gary Gensler's team at the SEC and Gerber, the head of enforcement at the SEC, Gabriel Gerwill, something like that. I don't know. They're basically filing against Kraken a huge lawsuit. This post kind of goes into it. I guess I'll read this one. I've read the 90-page complaint lodged against Kraken, and here's what I've found. Kraken, if you don't know, is also one of the longer-standing crypto exchanges. It's like they're going after all the exchanges right now. They're not really able to cripple Coinbase, so people are saying this is great. Coinbase's competition is getting wiped out right now. So Coinbase stock, woo! And Solana, woo! Yeah, because Solana only has like a $24 million market cap or something. No, 24. What? Let me get my numbers right here. $24 billion market cap here. Oh, if they just catch up a little bit to Ethereum's $250 billion, we're going to make so much money. Anyway, so basically in a nutshell, actually, I'm not going to read this entire post because video is going to get long. It goes into how Kraken is alleging that the SEC is alleging that Kraken commingled user funds with funds of the business Kraken rather than keeping them on separate ledgers, something that Kraken themselves had disclosed, that funds might be commingled. But the SEC is saying this could eventually lead to a situation where customers' asset withdrawals cannot be honored, customers' cash might be lost because of being tied up in liens and debts and whatever else Kraken might have to owe. And so funds should be kept separate. And they're using kind of like FTX as an example of commingling and everything else. But again, Kraken did kind of disclose this. There is evidence that $5 million was commingled or something like that, but in a year where Kraken made $50 billion in revenue. But anyway, here's some points that this user on Reddit points out. The major financial commingling appears to be around $33 million in 2020-2021, a year that Kraken made $43 billion as outlined by the SEC. The $5 billion mentioned by the SEC had nothing to do with commingling. That was mentioned above. I didn't mention it. In regards to crypto assets, the commingling mentioned by the SEC appears to be the risks inherent with ledgers in general, or that they are storing their own and customers in the same ledgers. This does seem like an oversight by Kraken, but the SEC doesn't state what percentage is commingled commingled, for how long, and also doesn't mention that Kraken ever used customer assets like it did with the minuscule proportion of fiat mentioned above. Most of this sounds like it was disclosed by Kraken. The significant risk to customers seems to be Kraken operating an unlicensed securities exchange rather than anything else per the SEC's language. And naturally, they want a payout. Come in and register. The majority of the document harps on about Kraken's history of operating an unlicensed securities exchange and goes into each token mentioned and why the SEC deems them securities. Honestly, this seems like a nothing burger and the SEC just wants to get paid. I'm not advocating for using or not using Kraken, just laying out the arguments, as there have been links with some pretty hyperbolic word mincing shared today throughout the sub. And Kraken did deny this. Of course, this is a really good read as well. Today's news has no impact on products that are offered at Kraken, and they continue to offer all their services for customers. Complaint against Kraken alleges no fraud, no market manipulation, no customer losses due to hacking or compromised security, and no breaches of fiduciary duty. It includes big dollar amounts, but does not allege a single one of those dollars is missing or misused. No Ponzi scheme, no failure to mention adequate reserves, and no failure to preserve the identity of client funds one for one. Indeed, none of these things would be true, writes Kraken. Instead, the complaint makes a technical argument that Kraken's business requires special securities licenses to operate because the digital assets we support are really investment contracts. This is incorrect as a matter of law, false as a matter of fact, and disastrous as a matter of policy. They've done work to try to work with regulators, sponsoring bills to allow for better frameworks to understand what the heck the SEC is saying when they say come in and register, since it seems like it's an impossible feat to just come in and register as a crypto exchange. They offer no guidance on how to operate a trading platform, how to execute trades, or anything else. So they've been working with Congress to try to get clear guidelines, for example. So yeah, and they consistently rank among the best places to buy and sell digital assets, thanks to their industry-leading client support, intuitive client experience, fast and reliable performance, and rigorous information security standards. They rank among the world's best places to work, according to Newsweek, as a most loved workplace because of their positive vision for the future, alignment of values, and collaborative environment. So yeah, I don't know. I stand with Kraken on this one. It's true. There's no evidence of any malfeasance besides, you kept funds on the same ledger, the same record, without separating it, and that could potentially lead to something bad. But there are no guidelines that things have to be done a certain way in crypto, so yeah, just kind of weird situation. And I see Kraken on strong footing going into this, so I wouldn't worry too much about Kraken going under. But yeah, they are in the spotlight of the SEC at least, but that seems to be one of the weaker agencies, right? It's not like the Treasury, Department of Justice, like what you saw with Binance. That was a real serious situation there. So company led by former New York Stock Exchange president buys crypto news site Coindesk. So yes, Coindesk is no longer going to be owned by Digital Currency Group, which owns Grayscale and they own so much, but they're going to be losing this huge news outlet for the crypto space. They host one of the biggest events for cryptocurrency in the year, which is the Consensus event. It's going to be happening in Austin, Texas, which is not very far away from me, in May of next year. So yeah, anyway, Coindesk was bought by DCG in 2016 for $500,000, and they're making substantially more than that right now. They're making stupid amounts. Like there was a deal of apparently $125 million where a syndicate of investors were in the final stages of attempting to buy Coindesk, was reported. You had Matthew Rozic of Tally Capital, private investment firm focused on crypto and blockchain-based technologies, and Peter Vicenez involved as well of Capital 6. That did not work out. So obviously Coindesk is worth more than $125 billion likely. So damn, they made a lot of money on that, DCG. But yeah, they made $50 million in revenue last year, including media, events, and indexes that they operate as their three lines of businesses. But anyway, the individual who's going to be buying them is this bloke right here, Tom Farley, who owns a crypto exchange that I've never used. Bullish, it's called, run by Farley. They bought 100% of Coindesk in an all-cash deal. I think this is notable because it has the potential to shape the future of news distribution. Coindesk has quite a voice, unfortunately, in this space, and they have a lot of reporters. The same team, managerial team, are going to stay at the top, according to the news of Coindesk, although there's going to be a new board of what do they call them? An editorial board, basically, an editorial committee to ensure journalistic independence, they said. The chief of this board, this committee, will be the former editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal, Matt Murray. So, interesting. I do wonder how this is going to shape the future of things. I think it's going to be pro-Wall Street for sure, at the very least. And it's just a shift, again, away from the wild westers of crypto, the early pioneers of crypto, away from technologists and the thinkers and the breakers, I guess you could say, and more towards the incumbent financial players who try to extort every last drop of money out of anyone in any business that an entity that they possibly can. So, good times. Anyway, I wonder where that's going to be going. Winklevoss twins were also... No, well, they weren't sued. Their company was sued. I don't know why this New York Post should know, NewYorkPost.com. But anyway, no, Gemini has been sued by a partner, Genesis Global. So Genesis offered this Earn program where users could go through Gemini Exchange, which is ran by the Winklevoss twins, and earn crypto on their deposits. And the custodianship was done by Gemini, and the execution of withdrawals was done by Gemini. But when SHTF, when poop hit the fan, with the bringing down of Terra Luna and all this stuff that happened right before FTX, there was a huge amount of runs on crypto exchanges, including the Earn program here, that led to the bankruptcy of Genesis. And so Genesis is suing Gemini because Gemini processed about $689 million worth of withdrawals in this period, which gave certain people protections away from the eventual bankruptcy of Genesis, which had to go through, again, bankruptcy court, try to get funds back for customers. So now basically the Genesis game is suing as much as they can, as many players as they can in the space, to try to claw back funds in order to make their users whole, is what they're saying right now. But anyway, in my opinion, I think this is ridiculous because a lot of people were seeing smoke and if not fire during this period and were rushing over to different platforms. That's what led to the bankruptcy. There was runs, and it was not just on Gemini and the Earn program. It was across the board. People were scared in crypto. They were trying to take possession of their crypto, take it out before, being the last one without a chair in the game of musical chairs, which is what happens to a lot of people, right? That's the situation with like what you see with Celsius and so many others, Voyager, trying to get funds back because they weren't able to withdraw in time before the collapse of the platform. Luckily, Gemini survived, but unluckily, they're now the target of partners who want to sue them. So I don't know. They've been involved in quite a lot of lawsuits, right? With money comes problems. More money, more problems. More time in court, for sure. So that's something else I wanted to share with you guys. Follow up on Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam Bankman-Fried, the former CEO of the collapsed crypto exchange FTX, now uses mackerel fish as currency in prison for services like haircuts, according to the Wall Street Journal. Mackerel, colloquially referred to as Max, has become the go-to currency in federal prisons since a ban on cigarettes in 2004. And this is true. Like, the first cryptocurrency conference that I ever went to was a Bitcoin conference that took place in Miami. I believe it was in 2015 or 2016. And Charlie Shrem, founder of BitInstant, had just come out of prison. And he was talking about how his greatest lesson in economics happened in prison. And I've shared the story that he shared many times on the show, and how everything was going fine. The barter of using these mackerel, or sardines, or whatever they were using at the time. I'm pretty sure it was mackerel. and how the inflation shot up when there was a truck that delivered like way more crates and boxes of the macro than they were supposed to, and it ruined the entire economy in prison, and what that taught him. So yeah, this is definitely a thing, and it looks like Sam Bankman-Fried is now learning some hard lessons, economic lessons in prison, it looks, or at least in jail right now. I don't think he's in prison just yet, but in jail. He is in a very tough penitentiary in Manhattan that is not known for being hospitable, as we've talked about before. Anyway, how many of you guys been following this crazy news that happened over the last week with OpenAI? Singularity, AI, the future of artificial intelligence. This is some of the stuff that has been fascinating to me and was really one of the main things when I started the show. So I said, like, we're going to be talking about crypto and like the move toward the singularity. For those of you guys who have been here with me the longest, you might remember that my fascination with futurism was part of what I talked about and how I thought crypto played a role in that. So it's still something of a fascination for mine that I follow. But yeah, OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, ousted their CEO, and a quick rundown of what's gone on. Sam Altman, you can hear Sam Altman speak on the Lex Fridman podcast. You can hear him on Joe Rogan. You can hear him talk everywhere. But yeah, he was like Y Combinator, venture capitalist, Silicon Valley dude who basically just wanted to have a role in shaping the future of artificial intelligence with OpenAI, and founded it with Greg Brockman, or has led it rather with co-founder Greg Brockman. And he was ousted by the board. It was not clear exactly why, except apparently he was keeping secrets from the board, it came out. And so he was just kicked out. Like one day he was talking at a conference, the next day he was suddenly no longer like one of the Elon Musks of the world. He was just like kicked off. Then he got hired by Microsoft. So Microsoft had been a partner of OpenAI. And so, this deal likely was something that they saw as a good thing because Sam Altman was at the head of things. He's become another celebrity at the AI space and the tech space overall. And so to see him not at the head anymore of this was a real serious reputational blow to OpenAI, who said that the board had said they just wanted to continue their mission of safety and so on. And with Sam Altman not being as transparent as he should be with the board, he was no longer fit, according to the board, to be at the top of OpenAI. So he got hired by Microsoft, apparently to afterwards, Sam Altman, to lead a research team for AI. But still, it's a little bit different being like the head of the number one AI company. That at the top, right, you have like so many different players now, but OpenAI seen as the big boys, really. And then suddenly just leading a sort of team. So you saw then Greg Brockman immediately step down from his role. Ilya Satsky, I can't pronounce his name right now, but Ilya, who was like, basically you think of Steve Wozniak to Steve Jobs, or Wozniak, what's his first name? Whatever. I don't know. Whatever. Wozniak to Steve Jobs. So you have like this super good at tech guy leading a company with a good business guy. That's basically what you saw with Ilya and Sam Altman, where you have Ilya being a really smart AI dude who got hired at OpenAI, was on the board, and he apparently worked with others to lead to the firing of Sam Altman. It was seen as it was just so many speculation. Was it like they're trying to just take over the company basically for power, or now it's coming out all sorts of other things. But before I get to that, Sam Altman was hired back after like over 700 employees vowed to quit OpenAI. So how do you run a company like that without any employees? People were saying it was marking the end of OpenAI. It was over. ChatGPT 5, we'll be lucky if we even see that. And apparently training is going on already for ChatGPT 5. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we can continue to push these transformer models and whether they can continue to get smarter and develop new features that were unexpected by just like scaling that kind of technology, or would we need something else? Really fascinating to follow all of this. But anyway, Sam Altman eventually gets hired again. The team realized their mistake. The whole board basically gets wiped except for for the Quora CEO. Quora potentially like sees OpenAI. OpenAI's products could be a rival to Quora itself, where you like ask questions with the technology that OpenAI creates. So some were saying that CEO played a role, although he's going to be staying on the board. Ilya is going to stay on the team at OpenAI, but is no longer on the board. I don't know. It's just wild. It's just been like crazy, honestly. People are finally getting sleep who are involved in all of this, but that's something I've been following quite closely over this period. And the latest news that's coming out is apparently that there was a huge breakthrough potentially in a letter that was found. Check this out on Reuters. Ahead of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's 4 days in exile, several staff researchers wrote a letter to the board of directors warning of a powerful artificial intelligence discovery that they said could threaten humanity. Two people familiar with the matter told Reuters. So there's a potential that maybe Sam Altman had heard about some sort of breakthrough or had discovered some sort of breakthrough at his company that could endanger humanity. It really could potentially destroy humanity. And maybe he kept it private for whatever reasons. And that was what led to his outing. So some at OpenAI believe that Q star could be the breakthrough in the startup search for what's known as artificial intelligence. It came out that apparently this new Q star thing that they're developing could perform math on the level of grade school students. Acing such tests made researchers very optimistic about Q's future success, according to sources. So, yeah, grade school math, not something crazy. You would think, whatever, right? But this technology potentially could be using a different route rather than just like word prediction, like what you're seeing, like some call it like enhanced autocomplete is what you're seeing with current LLM, large language models. And those are not particularly good at math. When you look at math, there's really only one right answer. But these things tend to hallucinate and make up random answers as well when it comes to words. To have something that potentially could be very accurate in devising mathematical calculations could eventually lead to humans trusting it more for complex mathematics that could lead to more discoveries. It potentially could mean that they've found a model that rather than just be trained on data and regurgitate data and memorize things, could actually sense and learn from its environment, maybe like a child. So maybe what you're seeing right now is like grade level arithmetic on the path to it suddenly surpassing Einstein in ability to do math, and maybe even much further as it reaches for AGI and artificial general intelligence, which according to OpenAI's definition of artificial general intelligence, it will be when you have this kind of artificial intelligence that can do tasks better than humans that have economic value. So yeah, we'll be out of jobs. Anyway, there was apparently a demonstration that happened at a summit of world leaders in San Francisco earlier, before he was fired, and Altman had this to say: 4 times now in the history of OpenAI, the most recent news was just in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten to be in the room when we sort of push the veil of ignorance back and the frontier of discovery forward, and getting to do that is the professional honor of a lifetime at the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. And a day later, the board fired Altman. So interesting how this is put together there, basically implying that in the last couple of weeks, there has been a huge groundbreaking discovery here that is on a level of large language model discovery. Well, at least a discovery that scaling transformers could lead to smarter large language models and so on. So anyway, something huge has happened. We're not really aware of it. Something potentially catastrophic to humanity, according to sources that cannot be named because they're not allowed to speak for the company. And we've had leakers who apparently worked at the company and said that if as early as January, perhaps the company had something like artificial general intelligence. So this would be huge. I'm very interested to see where this news goes. I even saw leaks that apparently they had discovered how to break certain code ciphers that might fuel cryptographic functions, and that could potentially break cryptocurrency. I don't know about that. That all looked a little fake, so I'm not showing it here. But it will be super fascinating to see where all of this goes, and it's moving really, really fast. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think about that. To me, that's some of the craziest stuff that I've been following as far as news. This has almost kept me away from some of the crypto news, which is also crazy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. I hope that you appreciate it and that you'll hit the like button if you do, so I know that you enjoy it. I hope you'll share with me your thoughts. Like, what do you think is going on at OpenAI? Do they have AGI? Are we getting closer to AGI? Is AGI even possible? Is it some sort of myth? I'm currently reading Nick Bostrom's Superintelligence, super long book, super in-depth, great if you're trying to understand the potential directions for superintelligence and artificial intelligence. I recommend that, Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. Good read. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of fascinated in right now. Let me know your thoughts down below. Humanity is done for. I certainly hope not, Jackknife. Maybe it'll just be a tool, right? Maybe it'll just be a tool to help us do our jobs better. New jobs will be created in the meantime. But yeah, I guess it's kind of fitting with this quote of the day by Dale Carnegie. Remember, today is the tomorrow you worried about yesterday. Take care, everyone. Much love and stay cryptic. Peace.